Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head up to Connecticut once again, and we're going to go to another brewery that I've never tried anything from before. So these guys are a very highly rated brewery, also very new to the scene, but they've built up a very good reputation for themselves over the last couple of years. It seems that they focus on kind of interesting old world styles, which is always a good direction to go in. And they're one of the most highly regarded breweries in the state of Connecticut, as well as across New England and the entire US. There's a lot of hype about these guys at the moment, so definitely cool to be able to do a proper sit-down review for you here on the channel. Now, the beer that we're going to have a look at today is a style that I very much enjoy, one of my favourite German styles in fact, but then again I enjoy most German style beers, but it's one that is very seasonal to the US at the moment and elsewhere. And I was quite surprised actually at how popular this style was in the US when I've been over this time. So needless to say, I'm very curious to see what this one is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review. And as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head to a little place called Salem, which is in the southeast of Connecticut, a bit to the north of like New London. And we're going to have a look then at my first beer from Farm Brewery. So this particular beer is called Tynes. It comes in at 6% ABV, and they're describing this one as a Märzen lager. So yeah, the Märzen is of course the original Oktoberfest beer. For those of you who don't know, it's a sort of kind of bronze coppery coloured lager beer. The original Oktoberfest Märzen was brewed to celebrate a royal marriage in Bavaria. It was the Duke of Bavaria's son that married a woman, if I remember correctly. The name Märzen comes from the fact that this beer was brewed in March and then it was allowed to ferment until October, because in Germany it was illegal actually to brew beer during the summer months, and that was the reason that this beer was allowed to ferment for longer, basically. So they used to have the rock kellers, they would put it down there. It's a lager beer, it ferments at lower temperature. So yeah, that's the reason why these beers were a little bit stronger, and they were released for the Oktoberfest, which became a yearly celebration, of course. But yeah, that's really cool. As I say, my first review on the channel from Farm Beer, very highly rated brewery, the Tynes Märzen at 6% ABV. Big shout out in this video to Matt of Massive Beer Reviews. He very kindly gave me this can. I visited him just before I came to the south of Jersey. And yeah, he had quite a few of these beers actually. He had just been to visit these guys just before I saw him. So yeah, very cool that he was willing to give me one of his cans to do a sit-down review of. So yeah, let's crack on with this one then and see what it has in store for us. As always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I'll do in the future, hopefully from Farm Brewery. This is the very first time I'm reviewing one of their beers on the channel, as I mentioned, and hopefully we can get up there for an out and about video at some point on one of my next trips to the States. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated. And remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the American playlist along with a number of other things, and that is of course being added to quite regularly at the moment. So keep your eyes peeled on that, but do check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some really interesting things on there these days. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a little bit about Farm Brewery for the first time. So, as I mentioned to you already, Farm Brewery are based in Salem in the southeastern part of Connecticut, a little bit to the northeast of New London, or northwestish, sorry I should say, of New London. But yeah, the brewery opened in 2017, and it was founded by Zach Adams and his wife Laura. So Laura apparently grew up with a culture of winemaking, and her family made wines using grapes grown on their own farms, and the main thing was that this was a tradition to pass down the generations among the Italian families of the area. but apparently they gifted Zach a home brewing kit after he graduated from university, and he just never stopped playing with it. So this was the very root of Fox Farm Brewing. But Zach tried to enter the workforce in 2009, which was obviously during the big recession. But he ultimately found himself working in bankruptcy finance, and he continued to homebrew in the basement while he was doing this job. And I don't think, by the sounds of what he was saying in the article, it sounded like he didn't enjoy this kind of overly much. But yeah, he focused on traditional English beers, but then he entered an IPA into a homebrewing contest back in 2012 and won. And the prize for winning this contest was that his beer would be brewed on the big scale. But with this victory in mind, and having done well the next year as well, and continually good feedback on his beers from his friends and family and so on, he decided that it was time to take his hobby a little bit more seriously. So in 2013, they were looking to move to Salem, and they noticed the farm in a state of disrepair, and then reached out to the owners, who apparently were very keen to sell it, and they made an offer before it actually hit the market, and they got it. So the farm complex was previously owned by the Fox family, hence the brewery's name, but when Zach and Laura were high schoolers in East Lyme close by, it was a bit of a notorious landmark because it had fallen into disrepair over the years, and the local youngsters used to kind of sneak in and do things in there. So that was a thing to do when they were younger. But in 2015, having moved in and got set up, they had the property examined to see if it could support a brewery, and this went really quite positively, and so the decision was made to move ahead with Zach founding his own brewing company. But family and friends helped them clear out the property and prepare it, and then Zach's older brother Dave joined and basically told Zach to focus on making beer, and he would take care of all the other things that were going on, anything else that was needed. But today, he runs the hospitality, accounts and finance side of things, and also the front of house part of the business as well. But the brewery opened officially in 2017, and it operates a 15-barrel system. They've also got a cool ship there as well, and there's only a few breweries in Connecticut actually operating cool ships, so that's quite a cool feature about this brewery. And the very first beer that they released commercially was called Gather, which is a German Pilsner, and this beer is, they say, the closest thing they have to a flagship. But they've been continuing to focus on old world beer styles, and in more recent times they've been focusing a little bit on their Wild Ale program. They hired Dan Comstock, who used to work for DeGard Brewing over in Oregon on the American West Coast, and he joined the company in 2019. But over the years they've continued to expand the brewery infrastructure and added more fermentation capacity, and they've gone on to become one of the most highly rated breweries in New England, and of course as a result of that, the US as a whole. But as of September 2023, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 160 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and like I said to you, they are very, very highly regarded, and definitely worth trying from what I've been told by other beer reviewers here in the US. So yeah, that's everything I can really tell you about Fox Farm Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's get on and have a little look at the beer itself. So this one, once again, is a 473 milliliter can, so that's 1 American pint or 16 fluid ounces if you want to go into the Freedom units. Plain silver top on it there, although the light is reflecting off that quite a little bit. But yeah, the artwork on these Fox Farm beers is all quite similar. Usually the cans just have a little bit of a different trim to them and stuff like that, and yeah, you can see they've got, it looks like a kind of deer's head or something like that there. I'm not sure if that's meant to be a buck's antlers or something like that in the little picture there. But yeah, as I said, this one is called Tynes, 6% ABV Märzen Lager. The technical definition of a lager I think we explained earlier on, and we also explained the origins of the Märzen Lager and its link to Oktoberfest. And obviously up in New England there were many German immigrants. My friend Laura that I was staying with up there, her family are Germans back in the day. So yeah, it's not surprising that Oktoberfest beers are quite popular up there, but it seems to be pretty much all over the place they have Oktoberfest beers. But yeah, that's that. But yeah, let's get this guy out into the glass then and see how we get on. I'm very, very curious to see what this one is going to be like actually. So let's do this. as you know if you've watched the channel for any length of time, I'm a huge fan of my German lagers, and it's been quite nice to see how popular these styles have become over here in the US as well, and some of them are really damn authentic actually, but generally speaking I would say the American lagers tend to be a little bit wetter and maybe not quite as dry as what you'd find in Germany. I think the American grains make them a little bit sweeter and things like that, but yeah, a lot of the brewers are brewing these using the imported German ingredients, which is pretty good. But yeah, this one's poured pretty much as you would expect. So you can see that the beer is poured with just under a finger of a frothy, I would say, slightly cream-coloured head there. There's some medium-sized bubbles on the surface of the liquid there, but you can see that the head gets foamier the further up that you go. And you've got some bumpier, more soapy type bubbles as well. The colour of the beer is a really nice kind of light amber note to it, but yeah, you've got a lovely kind of, you've got a few bubbles just kind of sticking toward the side of the glass there, and quite a few heading up toward the bottom of the head, which is what you want from a lager. You do want a lager to have that degree of crispness to it. The beer's got a little bit of natural haze to it, which I think is great. Obviously means it's kind of unfiltered, but yeah, it looks very, very nice, this one. So yeah. In terms of the Märzen, I think you can get the beers a little bit darker. I think you're seeing the proper true colour of this one now. I think it looks a little bit darker to you guys on the camera than it actually is to the naked eye. This is definitely one of the brighter Märzens I've come across during my time in the US here, but you can see the head is fading away to be a thinner, more foamy layer. But I don't think we need to say very much more about the appearance of this one. We can have a little look at the aroma and see what this beer is going to have in store for us. So let's get started on that. Oh yeah, aroma-wise, this smells really nice actually. Yeah, it's got a lovely sort of, this beer comes across as being very smooth and almost very reserved in its aroma, in fact. It actually reminds me a little bit more of some of the Letzak Czech amber lagers that I've had over the years. It has got a little bit of that to it. So for me, the general difference between a Czech lager and a German one, the German ones are a little bit brighter in their green component, whereas the Czech ones are a bit more spicy. The German ones have a little bit more crispness in the malt base, whereas the Czech ones have a little bit of an almost kind of creaminess and smoothness and a slightly more pronounced yeasty character. So that's something we'll need to chat about a little bit with this one as we go on, because the aroma comes across as very, very smooth, and it does have a little bit of that kind of yeasty element to it. But yeah, it does smell like a really, really nice beer regardless. We can argue about whether it's more Czech or German all day, but the main question should be, is it a good beer? And that's what we're going to focus on. So the backbone of the beer does give you everything that you'd expect. There's a lovely little bit of that kind of fresh white bready bread crust in there. You also get a nice little touch of woody character coming out of it. A little bit of a there's a little bit of woodiness in there. You know, some Jacob's cream cracker as well, and yeah, a little bit of, yeah, as I say, fresh white bready bread crust, a little bit of Jacob's cream cracker, a wee bit of woodiness in there, and then on top of that, you've got a really nice bit of like a sweet wholemeal brown bread coming out of it. And the wholemeal brown bread actually does have a good little bit of sweetness to it. There's maybe a very slight hint of nuttiness in there. Yeah, slight little hint of nuttiness coming out of it. Wholemeal brown bread, as we said, a little bit of a sweeter white bready character sitting on top of that. And yeah, the way that this beer goes together in that regard, I think, is very, very nice. So it does get a big thumbs up from me. On top of the bready character, you do start to get a little bit of the sweetness out of the beer, which is what you would expect from a Märzen. You do expect a little bit of a kind of biscuity sweetness. I think I got bitten by a mozzie here, which is why I'm scratching this guy to hell. But yeah, you do get a little bit of that sweetness in there. So you've got a lovely little bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity character in the base, maybe a very slight toasty brown sugar as well. There's an oily, yeah, there's a sort of oily, sweet caramel to this one as well, maybe very slightly leathery as well. But yeah, toasty brown sugar in there, McVitie's digestive biscuit, straight up sweet caramel in the middle of the nose too. These are all things that you would actually expect of the. These are all things that you would expect of Fox Farm, or not of Fox Farm. I was looking at the brewery name there. Of a Märzen lager. My brain just has brain farts these days when I'm doing these videos. I'm just getting old, I guess. Yeah, I think that covers everything we need to say about the malty side of things. You can smell it has got a lovely little bit of a yeasty, bready character to it, this beer, which you would expect from a farmhouse brewery, of course. But yeah, let's have a wee look at the, let's have a good look. Let's have a wee look at the hoppy side of things. The hoppy side of this beer is actually very smooth, to be honest with you. There's a little bit of smooth earthiness in there, little touch of herbal character. You do have a wee hint of like a floral aromatic sort of note and a bit of lighter grassiness as well, but it's actually a very wet green component that you get out of this beer, which is really nice. So yeah, lovely little bit of a wet green component in here. Yeah, so a little bit of floral aromaticity, a nice wet kind of grassiness as well, but definitely German noble hops in here. You can smell from the smoothness of the earthiness, the brightness of the floral character, and also the nice grassiness that the beer has. The way that this one goes together is really nice. It gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, on the fruity side of things then, for me, the fruity side of the beer is as you would expect. You've got a lovely little bit of like sultana character coming out of this one, for sure. Nice big oily pear, actually. Yeah, oily pear, I would say for sure. Little touch of like an apricot-y note underneath, and then you've also got that. Yeah, you've also got a little bit of like, yeah, you've got an oily pear. You do have a little touch of like a fresh green apple or something to this one. I do wonder if there's maybe a little bit of saphir in here, because it has a wee bit of that slightly marmalade-y, orangey kind of character. And I know that saphir is quite a popular hop to use in Germany, in German Märzens, and these guys are supposed to be pretty damn authentic, so I'm sure that Zach would know about that kind of hop. So yeah, aroma-wise this is lovely, but like I say, it's quite reserved when I think about it compared to some other Märzens that I've had. So as I always say, take a bit of time to enjoy that aroma, but I think it is about time that we have a taste of this one and see what it's all about. So yeah, this is the Fox Farm Tynes, a 6% Märzen lager beer, and this is supposed to be very nice. This is their Oktoberfest beer. Let's get stuck in. Slange, Skål, cheers. Oh yeah, that's pretty damn solid. That is absolutely one of the more authentic Märzens that you're going to come across in the States, I think. You'll find a lot of good ones, but as I say, when it comes to these German styles, and having lived in Germany, I do tend to look for authenticity more than anything else with these beers. I'd also say that this one is a little bit more on the kind of breadier and yeastier side of the spectrum. It's not one of the sweeter ones that you're going to come across, but it is pretty damn good. Yeah, I will say though, on second gulp, the beer has actually sweetened up a little bit, so I might have made a statement too quickly there. So that's fair to say. Yeah. So on the on this one, then, it gives, as I say, it gives you everything you'd expect of the style. One of the more bready leaning Helles beers, but it does give you that one of the more bready Märzen lagers that I've come across. But it gives you a wee bit of sweetness, nice breadiness, a little bit of hoppy character, and also that oily fruitiness. All things you'd expect of the beer. But let's break it down and just describe it for you a wee bit more in depth. So, this beer then, for me, the backbone is of course that fresh, if we go to the middle third of the palate, it's that fresh, kind of, somewhere between a white bread and a brown bready bread crust. Further forward on that middle third of your palate, you get a little bit of woodiness in there, so you can feel that nice little bit of woody character coming out of the beer. And above the bread crust you get a wee bit of like a Jacob's cream cracker sort of thing. So yeah, there's a lovely kind of Jacob's cream cracker coming out of this. But oh, you can hear the water pipes going again. Yeah. So you get that lovely little bit of Jacob's cream cracker in there, and then above the cracker you get that more dense wholemeal brown bready character coming out of the beer. So yeah, the way the beer goes together in that regard, I think, is really nice. Above that, you get the white bready character. So yeah, wholemeal brown bread in there, fluffier white bready character. Yeah, fluffier white bready character in there as well. Then above that you start to get some of the more typical sweeter elements that you would expect of a Märzen lager. So above the white bready layer, and I will say there's a wee touch of nuttiness comes out of this one into the aftertaste too. So above the white bready layer you get a little bit of that, you get a little touch of a toasty brown sugar coming out of this beer. So yeah, little touch of toasty brown sugar coming out of this one. Yeah, toasty brown sugar there. In the dead centre of your palate, there's a little bit of leatheriness kind of underneath, and usually when you have leathery flavours like that, it indicates a slightly longer wort boil, but I don't think that's the case here. Toasty brown sugar in the base, bit of a leathery brown sugar kind of in the middle, then the next layer up, you start to feel that kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity graininess, which is nice. In the dead centre of your palate, you can feel that nice kind of oily circle, which is good. Yeah, so you've got a nice kind of oily circle in the middle of your palate there, and that's where you get the kind of boozier part of the beer. And as I've said many a time before, when it comes to beers, lager beers especially, the alcohol does play a big part in the flavour of the beer, so you always have to keep this in mind. But yeah, this is really quite nice in that regard. On the other than that, I don't know if there's really much else to say about the middle third of the palate, to be honest with you. So let's go on to the back third of the palate. Remember the general trend with your palate, that sweeter flavours come out further forward, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back. And when it comes to middle and back third of your palate, the same flavours will come out for the most part, but they have to give you a little bit more, they'll give you a little bit difference, a little bit of a difference in intensity and so on. So on that border region between middle and back third of your palate, you'll feel you can feel a little bit of bready build up in there. So you've got a nice kind of brown bready character in the base, and the white bready character sitting on top of that. So you can feel the wholemeal brown bready character in the base, the softer white bready character sitting on top of that. Then the base of the back third of the palate, you've got this lovely You've got the bread crusty character in there, which feels a little bit drier, of course, and more grainy. You've got the Jacob's cream cracker sitting above that, which again feels a little bit drier. You've got the wholemeal brown bready character, which is there, and it feels a little bit lighter and more airy, and a bit taller as well. Then you've got the white bready character that sits above that, which again feels a little bit taller and more airy. And then you get a little bit of the kind of biscuity and drier brown sugary characters just creeping over the top of that. And then it's all about the yeast in the top of that, on the top of that back third of your palate. So the yeasty character for me is like this really dense, sweet, wholemeal, brown bready character. And yeah, so dense, sweet, wholemeal, brown bready character. There's a little bit of a woody and crackery type note sitting on top of it. So, yeah. On top of the on the yeasty character, as I say, it kind of feels as if it's wrapped in a little bit of a kind of it feels as if it's wrapped in a little bit of a kind of toasty honeycomb type character. So yeah, a little bit, yeah, the doughy thing, it's got a little bit of an almost black peppery and honeycomb sort of wrapping in it, and definitely the back third of the palate you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you come further forward into the middle third of your palate, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together a little bit more. So that's quite interesting. Yeah, so I do like how that pieces together. I think that's everything we need to say about the malty and yeasty side of the beer. Let's focus on the hoppy side of things. So this beer does have that little bit of hoppy crispness and things, and you do get a bit of dryness out of the malt too, and that's what you want. That's what really, these are the little things that make these beers so authentic, and I think this is definitely one of the more authentic Märzens that I've had when I've been here in the US, so that's worth keeping in mind. But on the hoppy side of things, in the back corners of the palate, you've got a lovely little bit of earthiness in there. As you move further forward, it's got a little bit of a herbal character, and the earthiness is quite prominent in this one, which is interesting. But as you move further forward, you get more and more of the floral aromaticity, and then round the front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy, and it just gives you that wee bit of it just gives you that little bit of zestiness too. But the green component is quite wet, but definitely German hops. You can tell that from the brightness in this one. Maybe a slightly higher alpha acid German hops, such as Pearl or something, rather than the straight up Hathertau Mittelfrüh or Tettnang Mittelfrüh or whatever. But yeah, definitely German. Let's move to the front third of your palate then to round off the tasting section. So border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of a kind of bready build up in there, the kind of sweeter wholemeal brown bread underneath and the white bread on top. The base of that front third of your palate, you've got the bread crust again, the brown bread, the white bread, and then you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So let's look at the fruity side of things. So yeah, fruity side of this beer, at the back of that front third of your palate, you have, at the back of that front third of your palate, you do have this nice kind of sultana, you know, dry, white raisiny type character out of this one. So lovely kind of sultana note there. As you move further forward from that, you start to get the as you move further forward from that, you start to get the big oily peary type character. So big oily peary character coming out of this one. The base of that front 30 palate feels as if it's got a little touch of like dry apricot or dry pear or something like that in there. But then yeah, as you reach the front half of that front third of your tongue, you can feel the beer gets a little bit more citrusy, and it almost has just a little touch of like a limey, like a limey fresh green apple sort of thing. You get that right behind the front tip of your tongue. So yeah, it's quite interesting how all this pieces together actually. This beer does have a little bit more hoppy character to it, but it's 6%, which is normal for a Märzen. 5.5–6% is normal for a Märzen lager. you would kind of expect that. But I like this. I do really like this. This is a very, very good Märzen. I wish I'd got the chance to try some of their other lager beers, actually, because this brewery is that good. Yeah, so I think we can leave it at that for the tasting section. Let's round off with a look at the mouthfeel then. So for me, mouthfeel-wise, this beer, top end light-bodied, carbonation is very, very smooth. The beer does have a little bit of that slightly oily slickness to it, which you would expect from the Märzen style. In terms of the IBUs, I think it's maybe about 25-ish this time, which is what you'd expect from it. You know, normally a lager would be about 20. Pilsners, of course, can be up to 30. That's another story. But yeah, the Märzen is slightly stronger, so I think about 25-ish IBUs in this one. 30 wouldn't surprise me either, though. But the malt base, a bit dry underneath, smooth in the middle, slightly sweeter on top, and then you've got that nice kind of oily, fruity character coming out of it as well. This is a really well done Märzen, on the breadier end of the scale for a Märzen for me, but still really, really nice beer, and it gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, I think we can leave it at that for this one. This was the Fox Farm Tynes, a 6% Märzen lager beer. I think this goes together very, very nicely. So yeah, big thumbs up from me. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Big thank you to Matt of Massive Beer Reviews for making this one possible by giving me the can. But yeah, until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Fox Farm Brewery as well. And we will see about actually going there and doing an out and about video at some point in the future, because these guys are pretty damn good, and I do feel that there are a number of New England breweries that I really should go and visit. So yeah, let's leave it there. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Fox Farm Brewery. Check out my social media, check out theirs, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Slàinte, skål, cheers, and I'll see you guys in the next one.